And we are back. Welcome to the Bales Off podcast. I would say it's a weekly podcast. It's been about 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, we only had an entire T20 tournament.
Look, we've been letting it mature, let's be honest.
Yes. No, I feel like we were, I had to dedicate some time to actually watch cricket again and watch more cricket. So that's my excuse. But we are back. Episode 2. Hopefully we will have less technical issues in this one. We'll go out on time. But
here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And I'm joined by Matt Young, as always, and straight out of the SA20 launch. So we'll talk about that a bit later. But otherwise, Matt, are you well? Are you keeping?
Otherwise, good. We're always busy, I covered cyclocross last night, which is fantastic news.
Who won?
Oh, I don't know. But somebody won.
Somebody won.
It was great. Yeah. It was a Norway. I mean, I think it was somebody from Belgium, probably.
Belgium, Germany, the flags all kind of similar.
I'd bet my car if it was either Belgium or the Netherlands.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But lots of cricket happening and really heading into I'm sure the CSA have got a nice catchphrase about some big summer cricket or whatever.
No, it's the One Day Cup.
It's
just the One Day Cup.
Yeah, no sponsor either. The CSA One Day Cup.
Yeah.
But yes, so lots of cricket happening in the next couple of months. We've got a lot to talk to you about tonight. First, we've got an entire T20 World Cup to sort of look at, and the Proteas doing what Proteas do.
No, we can call it. We can call it that word. No. There's times and places. And
there are times and places. Look, going out to Netherlands is about the definition of choking in a World Cup as we get.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about England winning it. We'll talk about how our Pakistan predictions was a bit of a roller coaster ride. We'll talk a little bit about this Proteas Test squad, which was announced this morning. Looks a bit more like a veteran side than a senior side.
The Legends 15.
Literally type thing.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk a little about the SA20, which I believe quite the party earlier.
Yeah, no, I've got my bracelet. I probably still have glitter on me.
Oh, there we go. Didn't see too many cricket. Well, sorry, we saw a couple of cricketers. There wasn't much cricket. There's a lot of singing and stuff going on.
Yeah, plenty.
Feel like a vibe though, to be fair. But
was a bit of a joke.
We'll talk about that a bit later. Right, let's talk about. I think we have to start with the T20 World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
England now currently holding both the 50 over and the 20 over World Cups at the same time,
which is very depressing because, obviously, as we know, any time an English cricketer is happy, we are not.
No.
So that's a bit of a downer. But I hate to say it, but like England BMT, okay, Ben Stokes BMT.
Yeah.
You got to take your hat off and say, all right, mate, that was good. I mean, the rest of you are a bit cuck, but like. That was BMT at its best.
And let's be perfectly honest. Some tournaments, there's luck, and some tournaments there's a couple of weird results. I don't think we can question them as champions. That's from that semi-final performance to the final performance. This team is proper.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a funny one because it's like we've seen now. Hell, we saw with the Proteas, like they can also collapse like a ton of bricks at times. England, but when the chips are down, I think you've got. Okay, fine. Bairstow didn't score that many runs in the final, but his captaincy was top notch. His choice of bowlers at the right time really it won it for them. Those guys, they really do. They've got that BMT. They especially like a Stokes. I mean, obviously we'll talk about him forever, but he really does have it.
Well, I think people saying that he's just. Look, he probably is the most talented cricketer in the world right now. I think it's probably easy to say, and he's just built for the big ones. So I mean, Josh Buttler before the tournament even sort of said, I'm just going to back him. He's scoring his first T20 50 in the final is a very Ben Stokes thing to do. He's never actually been that good of a T20 player for England, but he's just built for those occasions. You look back at Lords, you look back at Headingley, he's just built for occasions like this.
And what I liked about it this time was it wasn't just like a ballistic Stokes, just smash everything out the park. It was a measured, what was it? I think it was 52 not out.
It was playing the situation.
Exactly, yeah. And it was, I think to do that in a World Cup final, that shows you've got like a proper head on your shoulders.
Especially when we go back to, I think it was 2016, when he got obliterated by Carlos Brathwaite in that final over to lose them the T20 World Cup. So I think there must have been a certain amount of this is my redemption type thing.
Man's got it.
And now he's got everything really. I mean, he's done it in the Test arena, he's done it in the One Day arena, he's now done it in the T20 arena. So he's.
What interests me is, I heard and I read quite a few sort of pundits when he took his little mental health break.
Made a pretty cool documentary, to be fair.
Well, yeah, he did. But I read a lot of people going, 21st century soft, that's what it is. He can't hack it at the highest level. If you're going to be a champion, you need to be, rock hard and totally unfallible with all these things. But now?
Yeah, I know.
I mean, it does say that there's something for it. I mean, we were talking about it beforehand. It's not quite Naomi Osaka.
Yes, where you're just sort of walking away from the game every 2 seconds.
Yeah, that's just crap and nonsense. But with him, you've got to say maybe there's something to it.
I think it is. I think there's a certain amount of. We're seeing it as well in rugby sphere, for example. Michael Hooper, captain of Australia, said, "Listen, I'm not right currently. I'm not right in the headspace. I need to take a bit of time off and then come back. And when they come back, you can see that they're ready. Whatever they need to deal with. I think that's probably the main thing. Is that if you're going to take the break, go and deal with whatever you are, and make sure that you are in the right mindset. You've got the strength when you come back, because then you can't come back and then 3 weeks later go, the break.
Well, that's it. Yeah,
4 months later, I need another break now. I need a sabbatical. And
I think I think maybe we put this too much into mental health. Oh, it means that the person is clinically depressed. No, maybe the guy just wants to spend a little bit of time with his family, and that's all he needs. And hell, I mean, I'm pretty sure that that's the case with a lot of them, and it did seem to work. So I'm glad for him. I'm glad for what that symbolized that he won, but obviously England won, which is a little bit more.
Yeah, Josh Butler winning the trophy is not going to. It's lifting. Yeah, it's watching him lift. That's never going to bring a smile to South African fans, and to be fair, probably quite a few cricket fans.
I mean, I've always said every time Stuart Broad smiles, a butterfly gets its wings pulled off.
Yeah, so it is the one team as a South African you just don't want to win, but they did, and 2 polished performances. Pakistan about that final in terms of, didn't score probably enough runs, but then started very well, put England on the back foot, and then 4 stones came through. But let's talk about Pakistan, because we raved about them in the first episode and said, I reckon they're going to go all the way.
And then we almost looked like dicks.
And about 10 days later, we're sitting there going, shit, these oaks are not going to make it out to the group stage.
Yeah,
they've just lost to Zim, and things are not looking good here.
It's damn hard to put your finger on it, because I almost feel like they're in a West Indies space, in a sense of that they're relying on a couple of people to win the match for them.
Yeah.
And there's no doubting they're at top order. I mean, Mohammad Rizwan, Babar Azam, these are phenomenal, outstanding, arguably some of the best that you will see in T20 over the history of the game as openers. They really are fantastic. But if they don't score, what then? I got the scorecard up here. So Rizwan made 15 or 14. That, the amount of balls doesn't really matter, because he can accelerate whenever he likes. Babar Azam 32 off 28 before Adil Rashid caught and bowled him. And then, Shan Masood kind of chipped in. He got 38, and then there was Shadab Khan. But I mean, he's not really a full out and out batter near the top of the order, 20 runs. But then it collapsed around that. Muhammad Haris, 8? There was a duck, Iftikhar Ahmed.
SA fans will know that he can do a job.
Absolutely. Absolutely. These are guys who can do a job. Yeah. But the problem is, I think, if that day's not there when no one does the job, then you lose to Zim.
Yeah.
And I think that's the issue at the moment. You can't fault their team. Shaheen Shah Afridi is one of the greatest, short format and hell, even long format bowlers that you're gonna see for a long time now. He reminds me of like Wasim Akram, kind of a,
Yeah, you got Harris Ralph who's bowling. I mean, they had everything in their bowling attack, because Harris Ralph's going to bowl rockets, and Naseem Shah's not shy a few yards, and then Shadab Khan next to Sikandar Raza, 2 proper all-rounders, but Shadab Khan with the ball makes things happen,
Well, so that's the thing for me. It's that they're reliant on a guy to stand up, and if that guy doesn't stand up, well, then it goes tits up. And I think that's the problem.
And look, I think the reason they got to the finals is that they've got 5 or 6 guys who can be that guy.
Oh yeah, because they only need one.
Yes, and so they've got match winners there. They just needed a couple more to maybe sort of stand up throughout the tournament, but snuck in there thanks to a bit of misfortune, and I think we're gonna have to address it. Another World Cup where we've got. I mean, it's difficult to say got away from us when we didn't make the semis, but you look at certain performances, you look at that India performance, and you think this is a team that could win the T20 World Cup.
It felt like it got away from us.
You know, you then lose to Pakistan, and you sit there going, you know what, it's fine. Every team has an off day. If that's our off day, it's fine. We weren't completely outplayed by them. We just had a bad day, didn't quite get there. We'll beat Netherlands.
But we have to beat Netherlands.
Yes.
On an off day, on an on day, on a hangover day, doesn't matter.
Yes. You should be able to rotate the squad, bring in the people who haven't played, and still be able to be. And that's no disrespect to Netherlands, because these sides have come a long way. Netherlands have come a long way. Zimbabwe showed that they deserve to be around you. And I do think that we're going to see, hopefully, a bit of a change in the sort of the cricket world order, where some of these sides will be a bit more competitive. You've got to be beaten in it.
But sure, I mean, at the end of the day,
there's no excuse. You know,
they still look like a Knights B team.
Yeah, it's still. Well, I mean, it's still. I mean, how many players there are players who gave up the ambition to play for South Africa to go and
exactly.
So I mean, there are quality players there. You don't lose to. It's like an India losing to Bangladesh,
but worse.
Yeah,
Bangladesh have come at least enough of a way.
Yeah, no. So Bangladesh are tier 1 nation type thing, but it's just, you know, it's you sit there going, oh, there are some good players and stuff like that, but you should be beating them every time.
But the thing is, for me now, so it's inexcusable. It's totally and utterly inexcusable. You're still going to see the guys going, oh, you know whose fault it is, right?
Well, I mean,
it's Temba Bavuma's fault that we lost.
Yeah, because
I'm sorry, we should have 9 players and we should beat the Netherlands.
Yeah.
It's that simple. There is no excuse. You can't even pinpoint a player for me.
No, you can't. And you look at that side and you think it's even if you're looking at him, look, I think a lot of question marks about the toss decision, which I think was fair enough, but the bowling in Netherlands shouldn't have got to 160, 170 on that that pitch. You limit them to 130, 40, which our bowling attack should have done, and we get there. And that bowling line, and I think we're going to have a very honest conversation that Kagiso Rabada ended up being.
When are we going to talk about KG?
Our worst bowler this tournament.
Do we drop him?
Do we have to?
I asked you before. Do we drop him?
And see, the problem is that the initial answer is you don't drop KG Rabada. And maybe it's a similar type thing to Stokes in terms of more, doesn't matter their form, doesn't matter what their current lead-up is, they're world class and the best players stand for the best moments. He got taken apart.
Absolutely.
He was very good in the field. I'll give him that though. Specialist fielder, we can have a conversation about it.
He should be at point. But no. I'm sorry. Yeah, he got taken apart. But he got taken apart by the Netherlands batting lineup. With all due respect,
he got taken apart by every batting lineup.
Well, yeah. And let's be honest, a lot of that was not down to some outstanding world-class batting freak show. He bowled like shit at times. He really did.
No, he did.
And you need to I think you need to look at it and say, whoa, KG, maybe take a break.
And I think the problem is that raw pace still very much troubles people, but that raw pace now has to be in like the 150s almost. You know, when you're bowling 145 back of a length, batsmen are picking you up now. Batsmen are saying we don't. Well, that's pace on, but it's not enough to trouble us. You know, when Anrich Nokia is firing them through at 155, batsmen are going like, shit, this is not fun. But the modern day batsman, 140 to 145, that's no longer pace. That's throwdowns. That's we'll happily take you on, and it's also at that pace. Outside edges, you know, you bowl a short ball, you get top edge trying to pull it, that's going all the way.
Yeah, as well. You're right.
So there's in many ways, there's far more margin of error if you're bowling in the low 130s, even though there's the high 120s, because they have to generate their own power. And, you know, if pace off and they miss hit, they're catching it. But if, you know, you can afford to miss hit a 145 ball and that's going over the boundary, because there are a lot of those grounds that had short boundaries.
And especially, KG is not generating the right line and length. He's not generating any swing.
And he also just feels a bit predictable.
That's it.
You know, he almost kind of like can plot where he's going to bowl, what he's going to try and do. And they almost did. You know, we saw batsmen who are sitting there saying, right, we reckon this is going to be a short ball. And they're waiting on the back foot. And again, even if they're not middling it, top edge, you know, it's finding the gaps. It's running all the way. 3 bowlers actually. I thought the other 3 bowlers really stood up. Lungi Ngidi, absolutely brilliant in that power play.
Look, that man as a short form bowler is excellent. He really is. I think, you know, he that weapon of his of that slow ball is just, it's unplayable. And if you do play it, hell, you better generate power, because, you know, it's going to be slow enough that it's just, you're going to get nothing out of it. He gives you nothing.
Yeah. I think the issue with him, because people are saying he's a bit expensive, the problem is he gets a bit expensive in the last stages of the game when people are already going after him. But you look at him up front, he makes things happen.
Yeah.
he gets important wickets.
He's like a Shamsi almost, obviously different style of bowling, but
yeah, but he I mean, you look at the India game, for example, even the Pakistan game. You look at who he gets out. He's not getting out the tail enders. He's not, and it sounds very harsh, but Anurag Nokia finished with 11 wickets. His forfeit, for example, I think with 3 batsmen were, I think 7 down to 11. You know, so a lot. And there's nothing wrong with it. You got to take wickets, and Anurag Nokia bowled very well this tournament. Got into the team of the tournament very deservedly, but no, Lungi Ngidi takes important wickets. He takes wickets up front. He's the guy that, I mean, when we knew it from the get go when he just missed Virat Kohli at Wanderers.
Yeah,
he's that sort of quality where the best batsmen in the world struggle against him, and that's hard to replace. That's hard to do, you know, because you've got any team can have bowlers where they can pick up wickets and they can find, but when you've got a bowler who you can sit there saying Virat Kohli's going to come out in the best form of his life, this guy's going to be able to get him.
Yeah. Look, I mean, I can't talk like Lungi up high enough at the moment. I think he's, you know, he came back and he has been very unlucky with injury, as we know, and I think he's really come back and silenced the hell out of critics. Yeah. He really has, and good for him. I mean, I think it's something that we need. It's something that he deserves. So yeah, good for him, and I'm happy with him. Obviously, the Proteas were awful, but there are moments of happiness from it.
But let's talk about how do we fix this? So if you look at that 11, where's the issue now? Obviously, and we said it before that Temba Boomer shouldn't have been playing. We said that on form, Reza Hendricks had to play. David Miller probably had to captain.
Absolutely.
Tristan Stubbs didn't have a great tournament, but at the end of the day, he's also playing in a role where you're going to fail a lot. And if you're going to sit there and say you are a finisher, you've got to back your finisher throughout the tournament. You can't let him fail 3 times and say you're done. I mean, David Miller was called average and a failure for about the first how many years of his life because he really struggled to come off. He didn't come off enough.
Yeah, he did it like a Farhan Behardine again. He did it at domestic level, but then as soon as you get to And
totally. I always said from because I was a massive David Miller fan, and I always said, hey, we've got beer.
Well, would you look at that?
Life is good. Life is good when beer arrives on set, yeah.
That's the sound of joy.
Yeah, just on the... Yeah, there you go. Oh, cheers, Chief. To another Proteas disaster.
Mm-hmm. Hell, we might need a few of those.
Yeah. How many did we get? To bring out the case, let's sit here and really, really get down. 4 hours later, we might actually have a solution to the CSA's problems.
Well, better than they will.
But I think... So... For me, where I think that we really missed a genuine world-class all-rounder. And Wayne Parnell bowled brilliantly. He really did. I mean, the renaissance of Wayne Parnell has been a pleasure to watch.
He does this, but
he's just not he's not an all-rounder at the end of the day. Especially in this sort of format, we missed the power hitting of Dwayne Pretorius, for example. You know. You look at some of the other all-rounders out there who are doing jobs. You know, Shadab Khan can come out and strike at 150 to 200. Doesn't always come off, but he can do it. We missed Dwayne Pretorius. You know, we missed someone who could really come in and go at 180 and support this. So I think our biggest problem is that, and it's weird talking about a long tail, but we did have a long tail because
we really did.
If Stubbs failed, and he often did fail, that was it. There was no batting.
Yeah, you know? No, sure, you're entirely right. I think I can't pinpoint that and go, oh well, that's the one thing that was wrong though.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. I think it's just. I think it's a big. And I think that's the problem is that there's not just a clear fix. It's not a case of if Reza Hendricks played, we would have won the World Cup.
No,
it's not a case of if Dwayne Pretorius had played, we would have won the World Cup, because there were players who didn't rock up, unfortunately. Look, maybe if those two played throughout, you know, you sit there thinking, well, you know, those two put in a couple of individual performances, you never know. But Rabada did underperform. Shamsi was there and thereabouts, but wasn't as consistent as we needed him to be. For example, Riley Rousseau was a duck or 100.
Again, he's one of those.
You know, Quinton de Kock as well. So I think there were a lot of people who are just, you know, we needed someone who was going to chip in with 30, 40 most games.
But you know, we've got 11 players, and that's the thing. There's 11 individual players. The Proteas setup right now feels like honestly like a bit of a shit show in that it doesn't feel like there's a proper unity to that side. And I mean,
It doesn't feel like as much of a team culture.
No, not at all. And that's it. And you look at a situation like a Temba situation, and I kind of get the feeling that, like, if Asia Kolisi maybe started losing form horribly, his teammates would rally around him. You've heard nothing from Cricket South Africa.
You saw one press conference, and there was a press conference with Mark Boucher, and that was the first time I was like, yeah, cool, maybe there is, because he said, no, like, Temba's our captain. He will play every game of the World Cup. We back him. We know what he can do, you know. And you're like, cool, there it is. But you don't see it coming through enough where people are really sort of like, we'll back you guys. We'll back you regardless, you know. Like,
it doesn't feel like it's there.
We talk about the Protea fire. There wasn't.
There was no fire.
There was, and I think that's where England have gotten it so right. It's about 8 years ago now. Or I think it was actually about, so what? The World Cup was 2019. I think they must have said about 2015, 2016, right? And it was Owen Morgan who revolutionized it. He said, right, you're going to come in, you're going to buy in this culture. Ironically, Hales didn't fit in, and that was why there's all that beef and stuff. But he said, you're going to come in and we're going to back you. We believe in you. Go out and fail. Because I know, and like somebody like Jason Roy, for example, and you look at what he did in the World Cup, and they just created this aggressive brand of cricket. And people are saying, oh, that's, you know, so this is the thing, we have to be aggressive. I said, but you've got to, with that, back players. You've got to sit there and say, right, Quinton, we're backing you. We'll play you. Maybe not Quinton's a bad example. Aiden Markham, for example, or Riley Rousseau.
He's a good example, yeah.
And say, go out and do what you do. Don't go out and think because you've had 3 or 4 bad innings, you now need to knock it around and find yourself a 30, 40. No. You go out and you play how you play. And we'll just keep backing you because you will come off. If you've got the talent, you will come off. Yeah.
But again, I come back to, it doesn't seem like the team dynamic has that. It comes down to, I mean, I forget who it was now. I was listening to the presser, and whoever the player was, they were going, you know, what? Somebody asked, you know, what about Temba? Obviously, probably for those. And you gotta, yeah, well, you know, Temba's the captain, so we back him. Yeah. But the answer was, so Temba's the captain, so we back him.
Yeah.
Not we back Temba, and he just so happens to be our captain.
Yeah, so basically what we're saying is that the Proteas need to bring in, so Rassie Erasmus needs to take a break from posting Twitter clips.
Yeah.
And go and take them for a proper team camp. And go and throw out some cool speeches like pressure is, you know, not having lights at home, pressure is not having food, you know, not pressure scoring runs, and then we'll win all 3 formats and we'll be fine.
Guaranteed.
Cool.
Guaranteed.
We've solved the problems. And on that note, we're going to open a whole bunch of new problems because we've announced a Proteas test squad to go to Australia.
Really? Have we?
We have.
Wow. Is it behind those gentlemen? Those journeymen.
So our new interim coach, Malabonga Makete, and Victor Impitsang, our convener of selectors, who I think must be one of the people under the most pressure at the moment to try and justify the bit of a shit show of selection that's currently happening. They have announced a test squad, and there's so much to go through here. Unfortunately, we don't have that much time to go through it in as much detail as I'd like because we could be here for about 45 days. But this is the test squad. Let me just go through it, shall we? Dean Elgar, captain, Temba Bavuma, Gerald Coetzee, first call up for him, Tiers de Bruin, Shaw Irvia, Simon Harmer, Marco Janssen, Heinrich Klaassen, Keshav Maharaj, Lungi Ngidi, Anif Nokia, Kagiso Rabada, Glenton Stearman, Rassie van der Dussen, Kyle Verreyn, Kaya Zondo. Now, first things first, before we even talk about the squad, Malabonga Makete in as interim coach, not a lot actually being said about it, which is weird because I kind of expected South Africa Twitter to have like a meltdown. But to be fair, I think people are very much, you know what, the SA20 starts in January. This is just this weird, stupid little test series. We've got to go and play. And then I kind of get the feeling that everybody's looking at this S20 as like a reset. You know,
I think Cricket South Africa is looking at it as a reset.
I think they're definitely, and so I think they cancelled the ODI series, for example, and we're having the England ODI series in the middle of the SA20. But nobody seems to be worrying about this because they're already just like, you know what, fine, just go and play this solid test series. Let's have this tournament. Let's bring all the bucks in here, and then now's the time to get.
Yeah, when I look at this, I think safe is what I look.
Well, it's almost stupidly safe, and maybe it is because, you know, it is an interim coach. And I do think Makete is the right option. I think we were throwing him in the deep end.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I think we're going to throw any coach to the deep end. And if you're going to throw a coach to the deep end, you might as well throw a coach who knows the players, who's been part of the system, who's on the payroll, and say, listen, and I'm hoping they're saying, listen, we're not going to judge you on this. Like, if you Oaks go there and get 3-0, we know it's not on you, but just go and take them off and do your best type thing.
So what you're saying is you don't want to throw Jeff Toyane in just yet?
Not just yet.
I see. But you do want to throw him in, I'm guessing.
Well, Jeff's currently said they're sitting at assistant coach now at Titans. But yeah, look, I mean, I think Jeff Toron's had a very strange career to go from like winning everything at the Lions to dropping off the radar. Now back at Titans as an assistant coach. Enoch Nkwe was like the next solution, went on an India series. They then decided he's hopeless. Now he's a director of cricket, which I don't know. I mean, look, I think a lot of people are saying it's the right role because he knows the landscape very well, but I just want to see him in a coaching space. But I just think that anybody who would have taken this job would have been throwing in the deep end. So you might as well do it to somebody who, let's be honest, he's not an option for the full-time coach.
Yeah.
We could go win 3-0.
Yeah, no, you'll never get it.
And he's not going to get it. And I don't think he should get it necessarily. And look, maybe he deserves it, but we need to go and find, I mean, what did England go and do with the test side? Okay, things are going really badly. Let's go and find Brendan McCullum. And whether it's sustainable, this whole Bazball thing, he did turn it around. He's tried something new and he said, cool. You know, you can't
created a culture.
Yeah, you can't argue the results there. You know, you look at what Gary Kirsten's done, you look at various teams. So we do need to find an eventual coach. And we'll talk about the coach closer to when we can announce one. But let's go through the squad. And as you said, I think safe is the big word. And for me, my biggest concern is, I know that right now we just need to win a 3-0 test series. That's the main thing. There is not a single batsman on this team sheet who's younger than 30, apart from Calvin Rain, who's a wicketkeeper batsman.
You know, I don't know what it is. I think South African batting at the moment is in a horrible space, to be honest with you, in terms of long form batting. You know, everyone looks at Stubbs and everyone looks at Devil Brevis and we go, oh, great, well, don't worry, the short form is saved. But my issue is, you look at this thing, you go, okay, Dino, fine, he's a wonderful captain, great, etc. Temba as a vice captain, we know he can certainly knock a ball around in the longer formats. But are any of these players going to make it into your World 15?
No. And not to say that there are players who are playing domestically that will, but you've got somebody like David Bedingham who was tearing it up in county cricket, comes back, you know, has a very good season at the Western Province, then decides I want to go qualify for England. So everybody's like, oh shit, we just lost another one. Comes back and says, listen, I'm quite keen to play for South Africa actually. You've got, you know, somebody like Randolph Ntonde who had a tremendous season and then he's had a very ordinary season, so they're kind of thrown off to the wayside. But for me, this team, if I'm being brutally honest, doesn't win the series.
No, it doesn't.
And if we're not winning the series, as much as I like Tennis de Bruin, and I think he's a good player, as much as I like Heinrich Klaasen, and he's a good player, and I'm enjoying the fact that he's taken opportunities lately, sending 2 younger batsmen who are going to play this format for the next 10 years, what is the harm?
No, absolutely. I agree fully. You know? I mean, look, like you take a Heinrich, you go, okay, fine, well, you know, there's another wicketkeeper. But like, is that guy a test cricketer?
To be fair, I think that's the time to talk about the Ryan Rickleton situation. Get this. Ryan Rickleton. This is, and in fact, I'm actually gonna read off the press release because I don't want you to think that I'm making this up, because you probably will think I'm making this up, because it is the most ridiculous.
We should apologize in advance to Lucy from Cricket South Africa because
for having to put this out, and apologies to Malabonga Maketa, who probably must have sat at the press conference going, how is this what I ended up doing? But the press release over here is saying that Ryan Rickleton has suffered a ankle injury.
Dreadful.
Ankle injury.
Poor man.
This has killed me. Has an ankle injury that forced him to be overlooked by the national selector, but allows him to still be picked by his domestic team.
Do you know, domestic cricket, you only play on one leg?
No, but you know what it is? You know what I think it is?
That's why you don't need him.
It actually makes medical sense, because domestic cricket's 4 days. This is test cricket. So obviously this ankle injury, you can't play on that 5th day.
Look, to be fair, will South Africa play the 5th day?
No, so these are the things. In fact, it's probably actually better off going and playing in Australia where you only have to play for 3 days.
Well, that's it.
Then actually coming and playing and actually playing 4 days. But can you explain? I mean, so he will literally go on Thursday. The DP World Lions start their campaign in the 4 days domestic series. He's expected to play on Thursday. In 3 days' time, he's going to go play cricket for 4 days.
So why? What are your thoughts? Why?
I can't actually put my finger on it. I mean, knowing where he's come from and everything, he wants to play test cricket. He's like, that was his dream. White ball cricket is like thing. Test cricket is what he wants to do.
Yeah, man's a proper cricketer.
And he always wants to play test cricket. And like his dad, who helped produce him back at Saints, was very much like he's just like Test cricket is he's a traditional cricketer. He's a cricketer in all sense that he wants to succeed in the finest format. So he surely is sitting there saying, I'm ready to go. The only thing I can think is that there's potentially some people are saying it's a health insurance issue, that maybe that there's an issue there where from different medical standards where the Proteas say, no, you can't play, but the domestic ones are like, fine. But then having said that, we've seen the whole difference in fitness protocols, because back in the day, Sasanda Magala couldn't play for the Proteas, but he could play for the Lions. And then CSA have decided, no, we now have to follow the official CSA fitness guidelines. So if you're not fit enough to play for the Proteas, you can't play domestically. So Sasanda Magala, who ironically is I think the fourth or fifth most expensive player of the SA20, was a marquee player this morning, didn't play a single minute of the CSA T20 challenge because he was unfit. So explain to me how Rickleton is injured for a December tour but can go play on Thursday.
I thought to myself at first, I was trying to make a reason for why they could do it. So I was going, all right, fine. So we got wicket keepers, great. So obviously Heinrich's the guy you look at, right? And you go, why him over Rickleton?
And there's no reason.
And so at first I thought, well, maybe it's a leadership thing, but you can't. You got Timber, you've got obviously Dean. Dean's kind of made of iron and bits of stone.
And it's such an experienced squad. Tinus de Bruin maybe doesn't have 50 test matches, but Tinus de Bruin's captain of the Lions. Tinus de Bruin's been around. Tinus de Bruin is a leadership figure. No one there is like this. It's not like you decide to take 4 21-year-olds and you're like, okay, Heinrich, we need you to come with and be a bit of an older guy. No, like
Ryan's 26. I just had a look now.
No, he's my age. I played cricket against him when I was young.
That couldn't have gone well, but anyway, let's move on from that. There's no reason. There's no reason, and I kind of hope that there was some crap with medical aid or something.
Yeah.
I hope that has to be the reason. But then say it.
But that is it's the CSA. It's the sickness of CSA that they are so. Why is it that every single time something as simple as announcing a test squad, there has to be drama, there has to be controversy, and there's never clarity?
Because there's no clarity whatsoever and no openness at CSA. CSA, you know what it feels like to me at the moment? I'm probably going to get in trouble, but it feels to me like a little old boys club that kind of has been thrust into the 21st century. They know inside, oh shit, there's a lot of things going on here that we don't really want to talk about. So we're going to keep everything as close as we can to our chest. Yes, we had SJN hearings, and we so we'll throw you a bit of a bone there with SJN hearings, but we're going to try and keep as much as we can close to our chest. And it boils down to even things like a simple goddamn test squad announcement. That's your issue. There's this constant, we don't want you to know because, heaven forbid, Ken or Tennis or Fidoz or one of the journalists who are asking the hard questions are going to ask hard questions. They're terrified of hard questions right now. And that's, honestly, to me, that's where the whole thing stems from. The place it's a bit rotten.
It is. And I think the problem is that, when you had Graham Smith as director of cricket, and you had Mark Boucher as your coach, Jock Cullis as your batting coach, and Neil McKenzie involved, you then go, this is the old boys club.
They all left. You just wait to see who's the next guy at the Brian. You go, right, would you like a job as the batsman?
But then they all left, and the culture hasn't changed.
No, it hasn't.
We've now got this whole new board, for example, and we've got new CEOs, we've got Lawson Nadia and stuff like that, and nothing is changing. We've got Baketsi who's saying, yes, we had to sacrifice the ODI series, but we believe that based on the good performances in the past of our ODI, of our recent performance in the ODI history, we still qualify for the World Cup. And you go say, have you watched us in a 50-over game? We are literally going to Zimbabwe to play the qualifiers. That's like guaranteed, basically.
Look, I think the troubles of Cricket South Africa run deeper in other ways as well. I think financially there's a lot of pressure on SA20. I've heard it from people within Cricket South Africa that they've agreed at board level, we don't give a shit if we don't make the World Cup.
I've also heard this.
Happily willing to forego the World Cup.
Well, maybe not even the World Cup, but more just we'll play qualifiers. They basically said we're going to play qualifiers. We're happy to roll the dice at qualifiers
because we need SA20. Yeah. That's it. The amount of time and effort. It's bizarre. It's mind-boggling. It shouldn't be that way. You'd think healthy cricket, South African cricket.
Or any tier 1 bloody nation that plays cricket,
Don't tell me you're going to catch the BCCI binning India in favor of letting their players play the IPL. And the IPL, and they still probably won't though.
Yeah, they can't. But I mean, the
Pakistan won't do the same with
BCI own ICC though, so that's a bit of a different thing because at least they get to then just decide. Well, actually, there's new qualification standards and India's included because they've got that power. But I'm glad you brought up the SA20 because I believe as I said, you got a wristband on, you saw Majorzi, you saw Mikasa.
Absolutely. I mean, there were strippers, there was the lot.
You know what? And as long as they were the premium ones, because we need
very expensive.
There we go. So SA20 launch, how was it?
Well, I get what they're trying to do. It was nice, They started, Joey Razdeen came out. He was very droll, very kind of dour.
So that wasn't the first time when he walked out and you're going, hang on.
Well, I mean, when we heard when he kind of told everyone to come inside and stop smoking, I was like, oh, okay.
You don't have to stop smoking.
Who knows? I kind of went, okay, fine. This feels like a bit of a shitty presser, to be honest. I mean, all the oaks there with their laptops and everyone was like, oh, can we just get this over with?
Yeah.
Some people had driven from Pretoria from the morning from the test squad announcement. Now they're sitting there in this baking hot tent. And it wasn't even in the bull ring. It was there, like, other side of the car park, but behind the Oaks playing touch rugby for fun. Like, it was... And then they suddenly curtained down, oh, wait, jokes. Here's a cocktail party with all the DJs and all the free booze and all the free food and all the... And that was the whole kind of vibe. They're really, really throwing money at SA20 to make it succeed.
It summed it up. You had Timo ODV... who was pressing play so that players could walk up and down.
Yes.
Wasn't performing.
No.
He was barely DJing. He was literally going, and here come Paul Rock's players. Bloop. I want to move on that. And you've got to pay that. You've got to pay that tens of grands to go, thank you.
Yeah. No, and I mean, sure, my jerseys don't come cheap, and I'm pretty sure Mikasa don't either. So you're sitting here going, wow, we've got we've got serious big budget stuff. And I know it was streaming to India, which I think was kind of their main market, what they were trying to do. They're trying to get this buy-in from the Indian market. I think they already have the Indian buy-in.
Yeah, yes, you didn't have third party. That's the YouTube channel has like 16,000 subscribers. They are like, they're in.
Let me tell you, SA20's biggest problem is going to be asses on seats. That's what they're scared of.
So the ticket prices are, I think they start at
$50. $50 up to 200.
Up to 200, and that depends on the game, depending on the venue, depending on the thing. So they're reasonably priced.
They are. They have to be.
No, they have to be. But the problem is what we're seeing like in the URC rugby. It's actually not about the price. If you want to go, you'll pay 50. If you're paying 50 rand, you'll probably pay 100 rand. If you want to go.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because
you're not going to care. If you're in for the $50, hell, you're in for 100.
So I mean, the United Rugby Championship, for example, they're doing a similar thing. 10 rand tickets.
Yeah, my man, you're going to be there for 100 if you're going to.
If you don't want to go, you don't want to go. So
look, I have to believe that the sheer kind of like boisterousness of the marketing of SA20 means they will get some return from South Africans.
Well, their social media, the individual pages. Blow me away. It's bet. I mean, Cricket South Africa and the local unions must be actually a bit pissed off going, we're being outdone here by the Mumbai Indians Mumbai Cape Town Twitter account. And not about SA20 content. During the World Cup, Quinton de Kock goes and makes runs. Bang, montage, graphics. This is your MI Cape Town player.
Yeah, they're pumping it.
Yeah, so it is very impressive, and I'm hoping that it will translate.
Look, I want to see it. I want to see. I mean, God knows how many domestic matches I've watched at the Wanderers or Centurion or whatever, where you sit down and you're watching the Titans play the Knights, or whatever, and it's like you look around and you're like, Jesus, what is this? A church on a Tuesday?
I know.
Like it's just there's no one there, and I want to see it. I want to believe it. I remember when T20 was new, because remember, despite what
the Ram Slam,
what Oaks will say overseas, it was actually South Africa who kind of pioneered T20. And I'll never forget, there was the early Ram Slam T20 original things. And we're watching that and we're going, there is a crowd here.
Yeah.
And I have to believe, somewhere inside of me, the cynic inside of me doubts it, but the South African cricket fan inside me believes Oaks will come.
Well, I think Paul will be fine.
Yeah.
They were good in Zambia Super League. Paul were like, sweet, we've got a cricket team. Like, this was cool. So I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I imagine St. George's might be okay.
I think St. George will be fine. I think Centurion will be fine because Centurion's grass bank. It's a nice vibe. It's a cool thing to go do. I think Wanderers will struggle because of the sheer enormity of it.
And you know what? This here dope is the problem at the Wanderers. They have. It sounds weird to say, but it's if you're looking for a 2020 vibe, people are gonna want to drink.
Boo. When I was at varsity, our T20 tournament used to be called the biggest party in cricket. And same here. Friday night, 5:30. It's like perfect. It is perfect.
Speaking of James. Is James around?
Yeah.
James is our barman, by the way.
Yeah, James.
He's also the technical director of the entire thing.
Our producer is sorting out beer. You've 5:30 on a Friday. You've got no excuse to put 30,000 people into Wanderers, have a massive party.
My man.
And it's all going to pile
He's very efficient.
And it's all going to pile into Cogshead Lover, and everybody's going to hit the sea and stuff like that. You've got to create. And I mean, and the problem is that I worry that we're so busy saying, there's going to be vibe. Shawma George is going to be performing over there. We're going to have dances. We're going to have fireworks, pyrotechnics, which is fantastic. I love it. If I'm paying 40 Rand for a beer, I'm not enjoying those. I'm going to enjoy those dances half as much as if I'm paying 20 Rand for a beer.
No, exactly.
And I've got 2 in me, or 3 in me, or 4 in me. So it's not just the ticket prices.
It has to be student prices across the damn board. You're right. Because, I mean, I do think, honestly, Wits UJ, that's where they're aiming. They want the students in. You can't be coming here with, also, by the way, you need 3 yellow tokens and a blue token and 1 red one in order to equivalent to a half a hot dog and maybe 3/4 of a beer. No. Just go in there, say, all right, it's 20 Rand a beer.
Yeah.
I don't care about charge $100 ticket prices, for God's sake.
I will happily pay 50 Rand more for a ticket if I'm paying 20 Rand less a beer.
Straight.
Because in the long run, I'm going to spend a lot less.
You're exactly right.
So I think it's weird that we're saying, and maybe this speaks to the alcoholism involved in South African sport, but a lot of it does come down. You go into cricket, you're leaving work. This is now only you can relax. I'm going to give you my age, and I want to sit there and say, right, lads, there's 5 of us. We're going to rent an Uber van. We're going to book through the Wanderers. We're going to watch cricket.
Yeah, but you can't. I mean, as you say, it kind of speaks towards the alcohol, but it's not necessarily specifically about the alcohol. It's about the atmosphere, the vibe, the entire entertainment process from start to finish that this package is offering you.
Yeah.
So, as you say, you want to get right. Let's get the gents in, couple of beers each, whatever. We get it Uber together. We'll. Back home, everyone's happy. It's a Friday night. What a good way to spend your Friday night.
Especially because you can be finishing, it starts at 5:30, so you can be finishing 8, 9 o'clock. It's like so perfect for the evening's still young, You go home for a bride, or you're going to go on and go out, stuff like that. So it's so well timed. Please make the bloody beer cheap. You'll see me there every Friday. And Tuesdays, potentially.
We won't want to see you there every Friday. We've seen you steaming on the beer.
Yeah, listen. I will single-handedly keep Wanderers Bar going.
I know, I've seen it happen.
I'm willing to do it. There's no test cricket for me to go and do it, so I'm going to
Isn't your portrait behind the one bar there?
Wall of Fame. It was only a couple of test matches where it got a bit out of hand. But let's see. It's January. We've still got a while to go there. We're going to be. I think next week we're going to actually take a bit of a deep dive into the SA20 and look at the squads and see what we think and stuff like that. But let's wrap up. So, Matt, as always,
Matt, it's been lovely. It's been lovely.
Yeah. Cheers. Nice to be back on here. Hopefully, as it will be. I think we'll do a bit of a deep dive on the S20. We start getting into it next week. But apart from that, please do smash like on the video. Please do subscribe. This is hopefully going to become a bit of a weekly podcast. We've got a lot of cricket coverage coming your way as well. So hopefully we'll really be able to get this going before
There's social media. You are at what?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, SteveP Sport, and Instagram, which I currently have access to. Long story. But you can follow me on Instagram. And are you still using on Twitter?
Yes, I'm still on Twitter. Absolutely, always. Matt Young ZA. I'm found there normally attacking somebody or something.
Cool. And your TikTok handle?
Who?
Your TikTok handle?
Sorry, my clock is digital.
Yeah.
Tick.
What's that new social media that the Twitter alternative everybody's jumping on now? Starts with like an M or something.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Oh no, apparently it's quite cool. I don't know.
Oh no, I can't. I give up.
Maybe we need to get on there quickly and we become big on there.
Man, we don't even know what it's called.
Yeah, okay, well in a week's time we'll tell you what our handle is over there. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Lovely to see you again.
And yeah, we'll see you guys next time.